Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Maverick here, and today we're watching Vinland Saga episode 11. So, before we start, I'd like to thank some of my viewers first, Ander01SE, as well as Witchson, who provided a little bit more context in terms of the scene last episode where Ashglad basically cut off the messenger's head, right? So, I had thought that it was because Ashlat was a little bit undecided on who he wanted to curry favor with, like if he wanted to rescue Canute and then sort of rescue him and bring him back to Swing Forkspirit and gain favor and rewards there, or he wanted to maybe take him hostage and then put him back to the hands of the English instead. So, with this further context, I now know that instead he already believes that Swing Forkspirit is going to win, which honestly makes sense. And he's just trying to make sure that he's going to seize this opportunity for himself and not let anybody interfere with him, which is why he also killed a messenger, right? So, kind of a dick move, maybe, but you gotta appreciate his opportunist tendencies and his decisiveness, right? So anyways, for this episode, I already talked last episode in length about how I don't really like how it's deviating too much from historical fact, but oh well. So in this episode anyways, I presume we're going to be catching up with the forces that captured Canute, right? Which is basically Thorkell's forces, right? And this is probably one part where we're not going to be able to see any historical references, but it should make for a pretty fun story. So let's get into the episode right now. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh yeah, man, I skipped the opening because the opening was played first this episode. Yeah, this should be around October. I'm more of an autumn person myself as well. You must not commit adultery. Hey, talking about Christianity like that. I talked a little bit about this in my first and second episode reviews. Hmm. Infidel. He must. When is Canute actually going to do something?
バカだとはな。貴様ら全員死ぬぞ。たった500でデンマーク軍1万6000を敵に回して何とする。ということはね、問題じゃないんだよ、ラグナル。キリスト教にかぶれて久しいあんた方はもう忘れちまったかね。我らノルマン戦士のおまれってやつをよ。
Huh.
なるほどか。そうさ。
Okay.
バルキリーたちは常に勇者の魂を求めている。神々の戦士、エインヘリアルと呼ぶにふさわしい勇者を。
So, the Norse religion, basically.
まさに死んだ者だけが天界のバルハラ。
And again, since this is an anime, I'm sure that they want to play on this religion part a little bit more. For most historical scholars, though, the the popular consensus is that not every Norse person believed in the concept of Valhalla and what that all that much. It's hard to say, right? Because we don't really have records of that. But if anything, it is a very Oh, there's Ashlat's forces. Ooh. Damn. No, never mind. It's not Ashton. So this is the force that chased after them, right? He's like, I did not expect this. And he's like, I'm just gonna capture him right again. Nah, they're probably gonna fight. That's why he released him. Ah, they're not gonna listen. Vroom! What a waste of perfectly good manpower. Okay. Looks like he's gonna be using some tactics. Look at all those limbs flying around. Holy crap. Ridiculous. Oh. What's he gonna use though? Are they trying to smoke them out? I mean, sure, there's fire, right? But how that's gonna... Or this is trying to use a herding tactic. Mm-hmm. In the end, they still gotta rely on Thorfinn? Jeez. Oh, he just wants to get... Just wants to get the... kidnap the prince back? Well, I guess technically you can't say kidnapped. Rescue the prince. Rescue. Ah, there we go.
どのみち一か八かよ。この策でクヌート王子を焼き殺しちまったとしても、ケツまくって知らんぷりすりゃ、俺らの仕業と明かせるやつはいい。
Alright, sorry for that, guys. My hard drive just got filled up and I had to delete some things. But let's just begin. Continue in 3, 2, 1, play.
と言いつつ、トルフィンなら王子を取ってこれると思ってんだろ。なんだ、あんた結構信用してんだよ。
Wow.
怖いもん知らずのバカが使い勝手がいいだけよ。なんだこれは。トルケルの仕業とも思えんが。とにかくこの場を脱せねば。殿下、お早く。
You might want to, like, keep your voice down.
たわけ。相手も確認せんで突きかかるやつがあるか。すみません。ついおっかなくて。あんたにもしものことがあったらどうする気だ。大間抜けめ。
Like, keep your voices down, guys. You don't want to expose your position. Oh my god. It's not going to turn well, is it? Yeah, I saw that coming a mile away. Like... I feel like this would be the perfect time for them to take out all the men surrounding him. And oh, never mind. Morphin's here. I was thinking that was a perfect opportunity for them to, you know, kill everybody around Canute and leave only Canute and maybe that Ragnar dude, and then Thorfinn would intervene. Well... yeah, we can see how this is gonna end. Oh. お前はもう死んでいる. No, but seriously, we just saw like a full view. How did he even appear there? That's kind of badass. Choose what? Choose your savior? Oh. Are we gonna go for round 2 now? Oh. No comment. Of course. Oh. This might get a reaction out of him. Hmm. Hmm. Is that common Yoms Viking knowledge? Torstono. So are these guys also former Yoms Vikings as well? That would make sense. Thorkell is a former Yoms Viking. So it would make sense that his men are also former Yoms Vikings. So they probably all know who Tors is. London? Oh. This dude. Oh. Hmm.
さすがに今回ばかりはあいつの運に頼りすぎたかね。いいけどな。俺らに損害はねえし。また来たぞ。
How exactly are they going to continue to use Ashlat's character, right? Like, with his intelligence and leadership, you put him into a historical situation, he's gonna make an impact.
アシェラットとやら、貴様の強引な作戦のせいで、我が隊は無惨した。その罪は重いぞ。どうせトルケルに全滅させられてたさ。声でけえよ。だが、ことここに至っては、貴様に殿下の守護を任せるよりほか。
I guess he wants to maintain his pride.
軍団本営へお送りせよ。オラフの子アシェラット、謹んでその旨拝命いたします。つきましては殿下、近衛としてご尊願を拝したく存じますが。
Is that even... Well, at least we can get a face review. Alright. Alright, pretty boy, how pretty are you? Okay, I guess he must be pretty. No, he still looks like a guy to me. Boy, how many episodes was that since his face reveal? I hope we're not gonna have to wait the exact same amount of time for his voice reveal. Wouldn't it be funny if his voice actor was actually by a female seiyuu? Anyways, alright, I'll see you guys after the ending. Alrighty, so this episode was a bit light on things that I do want to talk about, but I still have a few points here. And one is in regards to at the beginning, where they talk again about this whole concept of Valhalla, you know, Norse mythology, Norse religion, and whatnot, as well as Christianity, right? Now, I have talked about these matters numerous times in previous episodes as well, scattered over different videos, but I figured I'd quickly rehash that and consolidate the information here as well, since that is sort of one of the main points of this episode. So again, this is an anime, right? So of course it's going to take liberties and whatnot with and do whatever it takes to create an interesting story, a compelling story. However, I just would like to point out that especially in regards to the Norse mythology stuff, you know, Odin and Thor and Valhalla, and then dying in battle and honor, glory, all that. So that itself, the simple thing to say here is that we really have no idea how widespread and how prominent this type of thinking was within Viking culture, right? Within Norse culture. Definitely, it did exist, but you have to understand that the Norse never had like something like a Bible or anything that detailed all this stuff in regards to different gods and whatnot, and how how it actually worked, right? How the religion actually functioned. It's again mostly passed down through oral tradition and whatnot, which are unreliable even in the best of times, right? Now, the way that we understand a lot of this Norse mythology is through the poetic Eddas, which I mentioned last episode, are a collection of these like short poems and whatnot that were passed down generation through generation. Somebody consolidated them into these poems, into just one literary source, and so that's how we learned of these early Norse religions and whatnot, and what constituted them. However, the Poetic Edda only came out in like 1300s or something, like sometime during the 14th century, if I remember correctly. Which by that point, the Scandinavians, the Norse, had already had they've already been heavily influenced by Christianity. So it's hard to say whether or not the Poetic Eddas, the content that it has, were not also be influenced by Christianity in some sort of way, right? Like the concept of heaven and hell, and various other things as well. So is it really the exact same kind of concept that's written there? That's what these early, I guess I can't really say early stage Viking, but late stage Vikings believed in? Hard to say, right? So take anything about this in terms of historical context with a grain of salt. Now again, I understand why they want to use this type of setting so much, right? It's compelling. It gives the story writes itself. That's why it's featured so prominently in literature, in movies and games and whatnot, in anime. Having the concept of, okay, I'm a super strong warrior who isn't afraid of anything. I fight honestly and gloriously, and then when I die, I get into heaven, or warrior heaven in this case, and all that. But just again, if you want to look at this critically, take it with a grain of salt whenever you're being shown this type of stuff. And so, talking about Christianity as well, right? So this is indeed the period of time where a lot of Scandinavians were converting into Christianity en masse, right? And in fact, it was mostly propagated by the people up top, the leaders and whatnot, the various kings who some even pushed Christianity a little bit too much, that it eventually led to revolts of the people and whatnot. But this was indeed the case where the conversion to Christianity sort of skyrocketed compared to other times, right? And you might ask why in this period, right? And why specifically were the leadership, the kings and whatnot, trying to convince the masses to convert to Christianity? Well, there's a few reasons here. Number one is that it's a good diplomatic tool here, because a lot of rulers in mainland and Europe, right, in continental Europe and whatnot, they also follow Christianity as well. So it's a good way to secure alliances, secure friendship with various other factions. It's a tool of diplomacy, if you will. And also, and another thing in regards to this, which is not exclusive to the Norse kings and whatnot, but also a prominent thing throughout history, is that the tenets of Christianity, right, what it practices, what it preaches, is by default much more compelling to leaders, to kings, than any other alternatives, right? You look at the Norse religion, like if we are using this stereotypical type of Norse religion and whatnot, well, we see the consequences here, right? They're basically unruly, they're hard to contain. They do believe that, fighting and dying on the battlefield is great, because then they earn all the honor and glory, and they'll eventually get to Valhalla and whatnot. Versus Christianity, which preaches what? It teaches you to respect your superiors, like people who become kings are kings because God willed it and whatnot. It you know, everybody has their own place in life and whatnot. And you just how should I say this? You just try to do your best to the best of your abilities in whatever occupation you're in. It doesn't necessarily have to be a warrior, right? It's just overall more well balanced and much more fitting for the ruling class to use than something like the Norse mythologies, if you will. So I just wanted to quickly talk about this type of fight since it's featured prominently within this episode. The rest, like I said, there's not really that much to talk about, especially because this is, again, sort of definitely outside history, right? A lot of these other events, you could say that, okay, maybe they happened, maybe they didn't. Some things match completely with historical records and whatnot. In this case, I already talked about this in length last episode. There's no way that this could have happened, but hey, whatever, right? So I'm not going to talk too much in regards to that part. Now, the way that they have structured Thorkell, though, and especially his relation with Thorfinn here, does lead me to believe that they're going for a different angle than what the sagas or a lot of historical records, I just probably not a lot, but some historical records have said, which is the connection between Thorkell and Canute, right? Here, it doesn't seem that they're trying to explore this angle and instead trying to push the Thorkell for Thorfinn angle instead. So I reckon that might be one of the turning points that turns Thorkell back and rejoins the Danish, the Scandinavians, instead of the English, right? And I guess one final thought is in regards to, well, I guess this isn't really a thought, but Canute, right? So here we finally have the face reveal and whatnot. Still waiting for the voice reveal, and I'm still waiting to see how exactly this series characterized Canute, because, you know, he's Canute the Great, right? He has his achievements, his historical achievements later on down in his life, and there was sort of this turn from being a innocent boy or a compassionate young man into someone who's ruthless and does what needs to be done, right? So again, I'm really interested to see how they're actually going to construct Canute's character, and if they are going to provide ample room for him to grow into the eventual great king that he becomes. So there we go. Even though I said there's not really that much to talk about, I managed to talk for almost 9 minutes. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next week as well. Bye bye.